Hi, Teresa. How you doing today?
Doing well, John. Thank you for asking. How are you?
I'm doing great. So we are talking about your testimony that you gave. Was it December 13th, 2021? Correct.
Yes, in Trenton. This was at the Assembly Judiciary Committee.
So tell me a little bit about what that was all about, and also what we discovered, or you discovered, I should say.
Many people might remember when the entire group of bills was going up before the judiciary. They were trying to ram through a multitude of bills at once. This was, the 50 caliber ban, the renewal of the firearms ID card every 4 years, and so many others. So I appeared at the hearing as the state director for the DC project in New Jersey and a trustee of the Coalition of New Jersey Firearm Owners. So I was there to testify. It was on a Monday. At that time, you had to actually provide, proof of vaccination or a negative COVID test to even get into the building. And I had Peter Elias with me that day, and he could not get in the building. So he actually waited outside, right outside the State House. He was denied access that day, and that was very aggravating for us. But I was able to go in, and I waited my turn to testify on a bill.
Right. So you were testifying, I think, on A5030, and that was the firearms ID card bill. And I believe the gist of it was they want to make it where the card's only valid for 4 years and requires training to revalidate. Is that right? Do you remember?
Yeah, so on that bill, it was the renewal of the firearms ID card every 4 years. And they also, what they were sneaking in with that, and I think the purpose behind it was mostly to require individuals who inherit firearms to obtain an FID within 30 days of the death of the person. So that was basically my great main objective, was to discuss how that process isn't going to work and all the negative consequences of that. So they wanted, heirs to obtain an FID within 30 days, which is absolutely ridiculous. Some people don't even know that they have inherited things within 30 days. So there were a lot of issues, and then also to have existing FID holders to renew within every 4 years as well.
Sure, sure. So you went and you gave this testimony. I'm assuming it was a home run of a testimony. I unfortunately wasn't able to take in the testimony, listen to it, or read a transcript. You care to talk a little bit about that process?
Yes, so I testified for several minutes, explaining that I am a widow myself and asking them, is there a widow crime problem in this state? Because you're trying to, create this major problem for widows who are not causing a problem, and just, explaining to them how what is being proposed is just not practical. It's not going to be effective, and it lacks compassion. So explaining from my own personal point of view, and then also my knowledge about how the FID process works, I explained to them that this wasn't going to work, essentially because you might not know that you've inherited something that quickly, and now you're making them felons, and B, you may not even get a fingerprinting appointment within 30 days, right? Even if you did initiate that immediately. It's as though they would want you to do this before you've even buried your loved one. So I talked about all of that, and essentially they actually said, even majority members on the committee said that they actually agreed that maybe it lacked compassion and that there were a lot of flaws with it and it needed to be pulled. So they said that they heard what I said, and that it was going to be, they were just not going to vote on it that day. So I apparently, what I said was, was heard by the members on the committee. However, when I went to go back to listen to the transcript, the official state record itself, it seems that my testimony has disappeared. So as soon as I'm introduced, there's silence for approximately 2 minutes, and then when the chair starts to ask me some questions, then the audio comes back on. But no one else in the 3 hours of testimony has been silenced. There were members representing the Brady campaign that were there. There were members of Everytown and Moms Demand, and of course their testimony was not silenced, but for some reason mine is silenced. And I find this extremely disturbing, as this is an official state record. I want to, this is part of the record. And so I really am perplexed. I don't know what happened there. I have contacted my assembly members, my representatives, and I've asked them to initiate an investigation because I'd like to know what happened here. I really don't have any information. I haven't gotten any information from them yet. I don't know how they can go about this, but it is a very big mystery that I'd like to look into.
Absolutely. Now, I recall, because I sat and I listened to the entire 3.5+ hour testimonies that were going on that day. And, they introduce everybody. They say the Pledge of Allegiance. They list off all of the angry, screaming, commie mommy groups. Some of them get to talk. I heard their speeches, and then I'm like, oh, they're getting ready to introduce Theresa. I'm like, this is awesome. I've got my popcorn bucket. And then it was like 2 minutes of silence. And, the only time that we actually got to hear you talk after you said hello, I believe, was when they were addressing you with some questions. So your question and answers were recorded on the record.
Yes.
And I will note, though, throughout the whole 3.5 hour plus recording, no one else was silenced. I want to let you know I listened to the entire thing, and you could tell that they were turning the mic on and off at different times, but nobody was silenced. And, you might not want to say you've been silenced, or maybe you do want to say it, but I'll certainly say it sure looks that way, and I find it rather suspect that the only woman that was testifying against all of these bills was silenced, and that was you.
Yes, I was the only woman. There were some representatives from other organizations, men, representing the NRA and other groups, but for the most part, the other speakers who were female were for the massive gun control measures. I was the only woman to testify against. This is testimony. This is not a casual conversation. This isn't a letter to the editor. This is my testimony before an Assembly Judiciary Committee on a bill, and I take this matter very seriously. And I specifically chose this 4-year renewal bill out of all the bills because I'm only one person and I really couldn't tackle every single bill by myself. But this bill was very important to me. It was very important to me in understanding how it would impact people, especially at the worst times of their lives, really, essentially. And I explained how the FID system is really broken, how the local, the local police departments they violate statute essentially on the 30 days. They take as long as they like. I've personally had permits that have taken 6.5 months through a firearm through a state trooper barracks. And so I explained to them that, do you understand that it takes more than 30 days to go through the system? And really you have no business making a new law on something that you don't know how it really works. And I wish that they would just ask us. We were happy to talk to you about what are the consequences and the unintended consequences of what you're about to do. This is what, DC Project Women for Gun Rights is all about: education, not legislation. And I think some of them actually didn't know that. And I took the time to counter a few of the things that were said by the Brady people and a few of the things that were said by the Moms Demand people. One of the things was that, and I believe it was the Brady person, said that once you get an FID card in this state, you never are subject to a background check again.
Right, and that's... yeah. And when you go to get your NICS check, right? Let's talk about that.
Right. So I said, you do realize that we're doing a point of sale NICS check here. What she's saying is just not true. So there were, I tried to take, some of their points and explain to them how things actually work versus a lot of the fluff and things that they were saying. So I'm really disheartened to be silenced as a woman, and the only woman who spoke out against these bills in an official proceeding. I mean, if we just need to find out what happened here.
Right. So
I don't know.
what did you end up doing? You did reach out to your members of the assembly, and where do you stand now?
As it stands right now, I actually have a meeting set up with them in July. They're very busy at the moment, but I have asked somebody if there's someone who can work in their office on constituent services that might be able to point me in the right direction or do a little bit of inquiring for me. I'd appreciate it, because at this point, if the audio isn't there, I'm asking for an actual copy of the transcript. So is there a transcript? Okay, there's a transcript of it, but there's no audio. Okay, then I know that I really haven't been disappeared, right? But if there's no transcript and there's no audio, it's as though I was never there.
Right.
And that's problematic for me. It really is, I have to say. So let's hope that we can resolve this issue. Let's hope that there's a transcript out there. And we'll have to find out who's responsible for this and see what we can do to remedy it.
Absolutely. And I just, want to let you know, I wrote emails to the current Judiciary Committee in the Assembly, all of the members that are the current members. So they're not necessarily all of the same members that were there. I think there were some people that changed out since December. I'm not 100% sure about that. But I did write all of the members of the Judiciary Committee, not once, but twice, and I received 0 responses from those committee members. And I also wrote out to the Legislative Info and Bill Room office and the Office of Legislative Services, and ironically, the Legislative Information and Bill Room office referred me to the Legislative Services office, who has failed to respond to me, and they also have been written twice. So we're kind of sitting here, and I want to give them, and I want to give them an opportunity to speak to what's going on here, because to me it looks like your voice has been subverted, and you're, a pro-freedom voice, and you were silenced. That's the way it appears to me.
Yes, silencing a woman that you disagree with is it's highly problematic, especially So let's hope that there is a good some sort of explanation, and maybe it will be restored, or maybe they can find it somewhere. I don't know exactly what happened, but I do think that it's worthy of an inquiry, because these are our precious records, state records, official records, and in generations from now, if people look back, as we have done in conducting research on 2A issues in New Jersey, we look back and we say, wow, how did they let our rights go by the wayside? Didn't they fight for us? And I want my daughter to know, and I want everyone to know, that we do fight for them, that we do fight for this. It's very important that we put ourselves out there, and that we study hard, and we try to be as effective as possible, and that we show up, So just being silenced after all of that, and particularly being a woman, it's just taken me aback. I haven't fully processed it yet. I'm hoping that there's a logical explanation for it, and that it will be resolved. So
absolutely. Well, we'll see what we can turn up in our continued quest to get answers. Where could people find you? Where could people find more information about you, about what you do? I also know you're also a member of the Supreme Court Bar, are you not? So you're kind of you're kind of a superhero too, a DC Project member. You're doing all of the heavy lifting here. So why don't you tell everybody where they can find you, what you're all about, and all that goodness?
Absolutely. Thank you. You're just way too kind. You're the superhero. You're a pen patriot. We appreciate your coverage of these things and asking the questions that a lot of people don't want to ask. But you can find really more information at dcproject.info. And if you select that you're interested in signing up for the newsletter, or even becoming active in our program, and you say you're from New Jersey, your email will get referred to me, which is great. So that's a great place to go. I am on Facebook. I am on Twitter. I'm on Instagram also. and and through John Petrolino. If somebody really needs to reach me and you can't find me, I'm sure you can reach out to John and we can get back to you. So I appreciate all that you do.
Thank you, Theresa. I really appreciate it. If you got anything else to add, please do. And if not, we can wrap things up.
Well, just want to say we need people to get, be present, right? I was the only one there, and look, I got silenced. Well, maybe if I had a few more people with me, we wouldn't be silenced. Or if they silence me, I hope somebody will step up and do what needs to be done. So just encouraging you all. You actually have to show up. It matters. Okay? So thank you.
All right, Theresa, thank you so much. You have a fantastic day.
You too.
All right, bye-bye. As fate would have it, we of course got a response back from the Office of Legislative Services after talking with Theresa. And we got an email from a Wendy S. Whitbeck from that office, and in it, she tries to address some of what was asked of the office in my email. So her email reads, "Dear Mr. Petrolino, this is in response to your inquiry concerning an interruption in the recording of December 13th, 2021, Assembly Judiciary Committee meeting at the 8 minutes and 30 seconds mark. The approximate 3-minute interruption in the recording of the meeting may be attributed to the speaker not turning on the microphone or inadvertently turning off the microphone while testifying at the witness table. If this was the case, the speaker's comments would not have been captured by the recording equipment, although it could be heard by the committee members and others attending the meeting. It is also possible that the interruption was attributed to a brief, unpredictable technical issue with the recording equipment, resulting in the 3 unrecorded minutes. Although infrequent, OLS is aware of these technical issues occurring when the committee meetings and public hearings are recorded to archive for subsequent listening. For a recording of the testimony, please submit an Open Public Records Act, OPRA request for a compact disc copy. Also, if you would like copies of the written testimony submitted to the committee on that date, please include that in your OPRA request. The OPRA request form can be found at www.njleg.state.nj.us/OPRA. And they followed up with saying, "Please let me know if I could be of further assistance. Sincerely, Wendy Whitbeck." So it seems that the office is trying to put this off on Theresa, that she somehow botched it, or it was just an unforeseeable, unpredictable, crazed issue that occurred to one person that was testifying against these bills that came in as a citizen, the only citizen that came in to testify against these bills, and her testimony did not get recorded. So we'll see what happens. We're going to try to follow up with some of those OPRA requests and see if we find anything else.